FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome, and you are listening to the Financial Survival Network, and I'm Kerry Lutz. Well, we've been talking about a lot of different companies recently, gotten new sponsors, and one area that totally intrigues us is the emerging legal cannabis space. And this has the potential to be a multi-billion-dollar industry. I mean, look, it already is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but it's going to be a legal industry, and there's many levels to the industry. There's the medical applications, there's the general use. There's just so much happening so quickly here. It's really hard to keep track of. Number of companies have gone public and got a new sponsor, Leviathan Cannabis, and there's somebody that you want to take a look at for sure. They're on the Canadian Securities Exchange, and their symbol is EPIC, and I'm really thrilled to have Martin Doane with us. Martin, you're running this operation, and we're thrilled to have you on the show.
Thanks very much, Kerry.
So, industry changing dramatically due to the recognition of governments around the globe that there are medical therapeutic uses for cannabis that have been suppressed or not adequately funded for research for decades now. And I mean, I can think of one just off the top of my head, migraine headaches. Still nothing better out there than cannabis for treating a migraine headache.
Yeah, no question. A variety of other conditions have shown themselves to be amenable to cannabis therapies, from cancer to epilepsy to, a variety of inflammatory illnesses like arthritis and things like that. I mean, we have an endocannabinoid receptor system in our body that's richer and denser than the opiate receptor system. It's one of the reasons why cannabis therapies are very well regarded to help opiate addicts, deal with their conditions and become unaddicted to opiates.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, in states where medical cannabis in the U.S. has been legalized, you've seen declines in the use of opiates. That in itself tells you that there's a therapeutic aspect to cannabis that really has not been explored up until now.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, we're at the forefront of what could be a revolution in medical science over the next century or so. And there are companies out there that are spending hundreds of millions of dollars. And ultimately, I think big pharma, as it becomes more legal in the U.S. in particular at the federal level, will start participating more heavily in the medical research aspect of cannabis. It's hard for them to do right now because of banking restrictions and everything else, but it's coming.
Yeah, and not a moment too soon. It's been neglected for far too long. And so right now in Canada, you need a license for medical cultivation. Do I have that correct?
Well, you need a license for everything. So yes, right now, Canada is at the forefront, I would say, of how you build a proper regulatory regime for the cultivation and distribution of cannabis products. And, it's one of the reasons why the Canadian securities market has become the leader globally in raising capital and listing companies that have cannabis products. And so a lot of patterning of the Canadian model is starting to happen around the globe. Canada is probably will be the world's leading exporter, at least until the U.S. changes its laws of cannabis products, and that's because the regulatory regime here is very pro-consumer. It has stringent requirements for how you grow and how you sell cannabis and how you secure the supply, and as a result, there is a very highly confident level of appreciation for Canadian cannabis products around the world.
Yeah, which is a good thing. Purity standards and basically the same kind of label that you expect when you go into the supermarket. You pull up a product off the shelf, and as much as can be expected, those disclosures on the label, that's what we're going to see with cannabis. And correct me if I'm wrong, but October 18th is the date where all uses of cannabis in Canada are become legal?
Correct.
Okay. So you see tremendous opportunities here. And if I have the gist right of your company's marketing plan, business model, is you're trying to become a vertically integrated cannabis producer effectively, perhaps the first one in the world.
Certainly one of the first with truly global ambitions and capabilities. There are a few others. It's definitely a hub and spoke approach. I mean, we're Canadian by birth, but regardless of that, we would have chosen Canada as the foundation for a cannabis platform. It's got all of the elements of what you would want in terms of being able to access capital at reasonable rates, build relationships around the world. The Canadian passport is second to none. And, the U.S. is obviously an enormous market. It's complicated right now. We're looking at acquisitions down there and believe we'll make some during this calendar year. We love the U.S. Spirit and the variety of products that are available in the U.S. markets, but at the same time, it's very challenging with banking and money movement and things like that because of the bifurcation in the federal and state approaches to legality.
Yeah, no doubt. Everything is new, and nobody quite knows how to treat the whole thing. But hey, you're the CEO. That's your job to figure out how to navigate these rough waters here. And like you were telling me, Leviathan. And by the way, if you want to check out the company, it's leviathancannabis.com. All the info is there, just like any other company. So you're telling me what you're trying to do now as a second generation cannabis company is learn from the mistakes of the first generation, those who came before you. And what are some of the things you've learned not to do?
So, we've worked in the industry for a number of years, and in terms of starting platforms, this is our second major platform. And, it's not so much mistakes that the early entrants made, but it's a natural evolution that, the more mysterious and earlier you are in an industry, naturally, the more mistakes that you're going to make, the earlier the technology is. So what we found over the last 3 to 4 years is that technology has become very, very important. The facility that we're building in the Niagara region in Canada, very close to the U.S. border, is going to be about as high-tech as any cannabis facility in the world. Virtually every square inch of the facility is going to be automated. In terms of the footprint, it's going to be almost 1 million square feet. And I doubt we're going to have more than 20 people operating that entire facility. We'll have automated tables that move the cannabis plants through their different areas of cultivation and growth and trimming and ultimately dispersion and distribution. And that's really the way of the future, because, as we talked about, in many markets, you're going to see commodification in cannabis, and there's going to be downward pressure on certainly a certain category of the production. And so you're either going to win by being more efficient, or you're going to win by having very high quality products with great brands, or you're going to win by combining the two. And our approach is to combine the two, to be ultra efficient while at the same time launching, maintaining, cultivating the top brands in the world.
Hey, and getting back to your vertical integration, so you bought Pulse RX, you acquired them, or you're in the process of acquiring them, I should say, and that's going to be done in September. So what does Pulse give you that other entrants in this industry don't have?
So, distribution is one of the keys. As you know from walking down supermarket aisles, the products you see at eye level and the products that are filling the shelves are not necessarily the best products. They're just the products with the most marketing dollars behind them. So the approach we're taking is to control our own destiny by owning our own distribution. And so we are in the process of making acquisitions of licensed distributors in the US, Canada, and Europe. Pulse RX is the Canadian piece of that distribution strategy. It has a pre-1954 charter, which enables it to open pharmacies throughout the largest province in Canada, Ontario, without having pharmacist owners. Mm-hmm. And the same holds true in other provinces. And it allows us to access that perfect intersection of consumers who are both looking for prescription products, but are also looking for over-the-counter products. And as you know from going to your CVS's or other drugstores, people go to drugstores to be healthy, to acquire health products. Sometimes they're prescription products, sometimes they're over-the-counter products, nutraceuticals, what have you. So we really like the pharmacy model, that the trusted purveyor of health products, where you can get some advice about the therapies, about what these products will do for you, as a way to reach out to our consumer base. And so that's really the essence of what Pulse RX gives us. They have, that platform which we can leverage. The second thing that Pulse has is a variety of institutional channels. It currently serves nursing homes and old age homes, writing prescriptions for those populations. And, those consumer groups are among the most interesting from a cannabis therapy standpoint. Alzheimer's, different inflammatory illnesses, those can all be treated with different kinds of CBD formulations. And so we view those channels as, ideal extension channels for cannabis therapies, as well as providing, steady income to Leviathan from conventional prescription writing.
Yeah. Distribution is definitely key. I mean, you go to look at any of those entrepreneurial shows, and they're always focusing on distribution. How are you going to get your product to market? And cannabis has the potential to become a very crowded marketplace very quickly, seeing that in stores in the states where it's been legalized, such as Washington State, Oregon. You go into these stores or you look at their online listing, and there's hundreds and hundreds of products. And that brings us to the next aspect of what Leviathan's doing concerning branding. You're very big on branding got a lot of resources dedicated to it, and your Jekyll and Hyde division seems to really be onto something.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, this platform was architected from the brand building pillar up. So Jekyll and Hyde was the first acquisition we made. It's the bedrock of everything we do. When we look at a potential acquisition or why we want to be in a certain segment of the industry, it all comes down to, what we can build from a consumer perception standpoint, where we think we can create an advantage for ourselves. And that's what Jekyll and Hyde gives us. They are, as far as we know, the only cannabis-focused branding and marketing agency in Canada. They're one of the few in the world. They have retainers and third-party clients from all over the world, Europe, the U.S., and Canada. And, they serve both third-party clients throughout the whole cannabis ecosystem, not just cultivators and distributors, but cannabis facility builders, for instance. Mm-hmm. So they have a profound understanding of the cannabis marketplace, where it's been and where it's going. And then at the same time, they are, the engines behind our proprietary products and strategies for building out our own brands.
Interesting. And so you've got some definite potential advantages heading into this marketplace. When do you anticipate everything's going to start going and, all the pieces will be moving, distribution will start?
So, we believe that the PulseRx transaction will be completed in early September. So that distribution will be part of Leviathan as of that date. We're aiming for the end of calendar 2018 to have our cultivation license for our large facility in the Niagara region. And as I indicated, there are a number of acquisitions in our funnel right now. We anticipate closing on 2 or 3 of those in Europe and the U.S. before the end of the year.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't think it's ever boring at Leviathan Cannabis on any level.
It's a fun place to work.
Martin, your background here, share being lawyers, former attorneys, and you got into investment banking.
Yes. I practiced complex litigation on Bay Street in Toronto for 20 years, doing complex litigation. I had a number of clients who were investment bankers, entrepreneurs, deal makers. I started sitting on their boards, investing alongside of them. And then the siren call of the entrepreneurial side, I guess, beckoned. I became an entrepreneur. I founded a mobile company. I sold it for $100 million in 2011. Since then, I've been active in a variety of growth markets, and cannabis has been a natural.
Natural, no pun intended. So it's interesting the way life's journey works, because I'm sure 25 years ago, when you started practicing law, you never saw yourself running a vertically integrated cannabis company.
No, we were very active, both as lawyers and as investors, colleagues and partners in the internet and technology space, because that's what was emerging in the mid-90s. And there's a lot of parallels, I think, in how the cannabis segment is growing right now, with different business models being explored and perhaps a level of frothiness in the valuations that I think are going to rationalize over the next 18 to 24 months. I think they have to. You're going to see a lot of consolidation, much like you saw during the internet bubble. And, we're running our company to be one of the survivors and consolidators when that happens.
Yeah. So it's all about positioning. It's all about putting the necessary building blocks in place and then kind of just waiting for the market to catch up with you, which no doubt is going to happen soon, because what we've seen in the states here that have legalized, many of them can't keep up with the demand, like California and Nevada. Forget it. The shelves are stripped bare, almost literally. So it seems to be you're in the right place at the right time, and just need a little bit of luck and even not much of that, and then you'll be ready to go.
I think so. I mean, I like the title of your show because, I view growth markets like this, early markets, as survivalist markets.
Yeah.
And, we're very active in the M&A space, and it's one of our differentiators. My partners and I have done hundreds of M&A transactions during our careers. We have a huge network around the world, and as a result, we don't compete in auction-based deals, and as a result, we don't overpay for acquisitions. And I'm seeing a lot of overpaying right now in the marketplace. Licenses in Florida, where you are, going for $50 million for the license itself, no infrastructure, nothing, and transactions like that, in my view, can only end badly. So that's not our approach. We try and hew to, more conventional business principles where revenues and EBITDA are important. And, our view of the world is that the current EBITDA multiples are not going to last. And you have to build a foundation where more normalized multiples will take place, and you can run a real business 3 to 5 years from now and not be raising capital at astronomical valuation.
Or these huge startup costs, which seems to me need to be avoided, because when you're that far behind the hole just to get toehold in a medical market that really hasn't taken off. I happen to live in Florida. I've known people who've wanted to get their card to get cannabis legally for medical purposes, and it's a 10-week process, and it costs a fortune. And there's been a subcategory, a cottage industry of expediters who will get it for you in 5 weeks instead of 10. And that's just not entree to that market, probably not worth overpaying. Sounds like you're really poised. And again, the stock symbol is EPIC, EPIC. It's on the Canadian Securities Exchange, and just Google it or go to the website, which is Leviathan Cannabis.com. That's Leviathan, Leviathan, Cannabis. If you don't know how to spell that, it's CANNABIS.com. Exciting company, exciting times. Martin, wish you the best of luck. Thanks for sponsoring us. We will definitely be talking to you again real soon.
Okay. Nice to be with you. Thanks a lot.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.